here's my signature,
Oh,
and I need an entry.
I have many copies.
We are live.
Great. Welcome everyone to College Council. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being president of San Diego State College. College Council is the highest level of governance at our college where we discuss matters that are important to our college. And you can add an agenda item at College Council one of two ways, either by reaching out to the president's office, Tia or Angel, or reaching out to one of the leaders of the constituency groups that I am going to introduce momentarily. We begin College Council with acknowledging that our campus is on the traditional land of the Kumeyaay Nation. We recognize the Kumeyaay people, past and present, and their land with honor and gratitude. I had a chance to meet with Chicano Studies this past Friday, and it was very good to see the first professor in our district in Indigenous Studies, as we were the first college to have a professor and a program. And so this land acknowledgement really hits home for us doing work around social justice. Now I'll begin with the introduction of the leaders, and these are folks you can work with if you have a matter of concern that you would like to either discuss or bring to College Council. Mona is the president of the Academic Senate. Nick is the president-elect of the Academic Senate. Tilly is the vice president of instruction.
Present.
Robbie is the dean of information and learning technology. I do not see Robbie. Caesar is the public information officer. Daniel is the supervisory rep coming to us via Zoom.
Present.
Sunam mentioned she was not feeling well. She may join us, not sure. Susan is the dean of institutional effectiveness and the co-chair. I think, Susan, you have the longest title of anyone here, but the co-chair of city planning.
Present.
Andy, we'll get that corrected. Andy is the administrative rep.
Present. I was waiting for the rest of all my time.
Well, you might have the longest dean title. In certainly the largest school at the college. Selena is the reason we are all here, the president of the ASG.
Right.
John is the vice president of administrative services.
Present.
Marciano, vice president of students.
Present.
Sean, president of classified senate.
Present.
Marco, the coordinator of professional learning.
Present.
And Itza is the ideas representative.
Present.
These are the members of College Council and some of the leaders of our various constituency groups. If you have a matter or agenda item for College Council, you can work with them and or my office. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the September 9th meeting minutes. Someone would like to make a motion for approval.
This is Sean, motion to approve.
Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
This is Susan, I'll second.
Thank you, Susan. And is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone want to abstain or object? Motion carries. Number 3 is a very harsh reality of the fact that the work that we do is in direct conflict with the federal government. And so we received some really devastating news, unfortunate news, about 2 weeks ago that the federal government was going to end about $350,000 worth of minority serving institution funding. And let me say, being a Latinx serving institution, we are a minority serving institution. We're Manapese. We're veteran serving, and so this is a direct threat to the services that we provide to students. I'm going to ask Marciano to talk about our NAPZ grant. You know, he didn't know I was going to ask him to do that, but I'm sure he's ready. And the impact on the NAPZ grant, which has kind of dual reporting roles between Genevieve and Manuel. But Marciano, if you could speak to it.
So I just want to clarify that we currently have two grants that we administer so we have the NAPZ grant, the federal grant, which is a Title III grant, which is the one that we were notified last week that the federal government is not going to fund. And then we've got the NAPZ grant that comes from the state, we refer to as the SAP grant. And that SAP grant is state funded. And so that money, it has not gone away. Although what has typically happened is when we originally were allocated our SAP funds to do the work that we were doing, there were fewer schools that were doing the work, and so the money was being spread out among the schools that were doing it. And so what has happened in the last couple of years, as more schools have tried to grow their AAPI programs, now more schools are competing for the same amount of funding. So the funding hasn't changed, when more schools are doing it. So we've gotten significantly less funding every year. So all that to say is that when we got notice that this funding was going away, we started to work with our business services folks and our district folks to identify who are all the folks that are on this grant, that the one that is being impacted by the federal government pulling the money. And so that includes folks like our coordinator over the Anopsy Center is part of his funding is tied to that. We've got some tutoring and we've got some administrative costs that were all impacted by that. So we're working to clarify that. We're working to, we've met with the teams. We've let folks know what the plan is, and we are confident that between the support that we have from the district as well as with our SAP grant, we'll be able to continue our program as it's currently being run through the end of this academic year. And then we will have to look at things about how do we shift. We also know that there is some efforts at the state level to request more money to be administered to address this shortfall that the federal government is taking away. So we won't know what that's going to look like, or what really if we're going to get any increases, but there's at least advocacy happening, and our chancellor is supportive of that advocacy to ask the state to see what we can do to kind of patch the gap that was created by this federal funding.
Any questions? Yes.
I know that we're gonna be getting some state block grant funds to fill in the gaps that have been created by COVID stuff. Could some of those funds be used to fill in some of those gaps where the district, like, I know the district is in filling them.
Yes and no. So part of it is the easy answer is going to be that yes, that's some of the money that we could use for it. The more difficult part is that some of these folks are on the wrong side of the 50%. And so we, like, the block grant money that's coming was specifically earmarked toward construction. And so some of these folks, we're not gonna be able to use it because just of that. So that's why we're taking a look at where can we shift some people to? Are there other grants that we can shift people onto? Are there other grants that we come? But as you all know, I mean, part of what we're dealing with right now is that there are no safe grants, and there's not a lot of funding that people are talking about because everybody's afraid of drawing attention to the funding that they do have. So, but yes, something we've absolutely thought.
Yeah, and I would just build on a couple of things. We do have 3 pots of money, as Marciano articulated. The district set aside $2 million in our 25-26 budget, anticipating that this could happen. So kudos to our district, our board for doing that. But that is general fund unrestricted, which means that if we spend that money for this on things that are on the opposite side of the 50% law, there are some implications there. The other part of it is that when we go after these federal grants, they typically are for a period, 3 years, 5 years. Sometimes you can extend them 6 or 7 years. But the people who are hired knowing that when the grant period ends, their job will end. That may sound horrible, but that is the nature of federal grants across the country, whether it be state, federal, what I was trying to say, whether it be a community college or a major university or whatnot. People who work on these funding sources know that it's a period in which they would be employed. And in a perfect world, the college would open positions and those people would compete for those positions. And that opportunity may in fact be available to these folks. And in fact, I met with them and I encouraged them, if they see an open position at the college, they should actively be applying for open positions. So we are meeting with the team who are in these grants to try to firm up our commitment to them financially, and so that they know they're not going to lose their job tomorrow or at the end of the semester. But they knew going into this that there was a period in which the grant could be. Any other questions? Moving on, we've got some updates to the hiring document. This will be the first read. We'll have a second read in a couple of, in the next meeting. What I asked Angel to do, thank you, Angel, was to do a cover page. Doesn't Tia look like it all got in there? Let me look back in the back. And it didn't, we're missing a piece. Tia, why don't you send to the group, there is a cover page similar to the hiring committee guidelines that was kind of like a cheat sheet of what got changed. In the document, it's highlighted in red. So as you're looking through it, what is, yeah, but there's another piece to it that is missing. But it's highlighted in red in the actual document, right? So all the changes that were made are highlighted in red. Angel has a separate document similar to the one that says hiring guidelines here that we can send to the folks, that it's just a pullout of what is already in red and try to make it simple. So what we added, if you go to page 4 of the document, was a matter regarding working with the constituency groups. Sometimes my colleagues forget about that piece. And I now understand, Sean, that the classified senate has a form very similar to the academic senate to seek a classified senate rep on a hiring.
Yeah, we're in the process of revamping the information portion of that. So we're working on verbiage on the webpage and also additional messaging that we'll be sending out.
So that's what the red items or additions on page 4 does. It's just it codifies that the hiring manager can't just arbitrarily put somebody on the hiring, that you've got to go through the constituency groups, which there are essentially 4. The manager assignment comes from me and very often is delegated to the vice presidents. The SPA group goes through Daniel. The classified senate goes through their process, and the faculty appointment goes through the academic senate's process. That's essentially what this codifies. On page 5, we've been getting a lot of questions about Nancy's. For some reason, people believe that a Nance is somebody, if I need somebody, I just hire a Nance. So there are actually four provisions that allow someone to hire a Nance. So we're, again, codifying that in the document so that now all of this stuff exists somewhere in the AP or VP. We're just trying to condense it into one location so it's easier for people who don't regularly deal with APs or VPs to find these things. Page 6 and 7 have to do with the transfer process. We've been getting a lot of transfers into city, out of city. And so again, just trying to codify what's in the contract, where to go find this stuff, but that it'll be in one location regarding transfers. And those are the things that we've added. And then 11, we worked with Mona and the Senate exec to clarify the second round interviews for faculty. How, who gets to be in the second round of those interviews, and that is there. This is your first read. We will add this back to College Council for a formal vote in 2 weeks. Any questions?
Ricky,
Yes.
those second round interviews and the information that's specified here, is that just for faculty positions, or which positions does it apply to?
What is here is strictly for faculty.
Okay.
And it really has to do with a couple of things. One, when you're hiring faculty and there may not be a chair, because there are some departments that have faculty that don't, Marco is an example, right? He's a faculty member, but his department program doesn't have a chair. Who gets to be in the second round? And then when or if we had a case where the committee somehow didn't recommend a faculty member, and I could be remembering this wrong, to serve in the second round of them. It's clear when it's a dean Because typically you'll have the chairs from the area on that manager search, and then they just decide among themselves who's gonna be in the second round. Yes,
A couple things, one, in the second round interviews on page 11, I know that this language largely came from, really exactly came from our resolution. I think the only thing that was left out was there was one more sentence that said if the hiring committee requests for a second faculty member to be in the final round, that the president should consider it, or language similar to that. And I thought that we sent that language and that we agreed to add that, but somehow it got dropped.
yeah, can you send that to us again, Mona and Tia, can you make sure that Angel gets that piece?
And then my second question is the faculty transfer opportunities. So I see that the language from the CBA there is very helpful to have all of this in one thing. But the those steps, are those like, is that our local process and based on the CBA?
Yes.
Okay, so in that case, then we should bring this to Senate, right, for a vote.
So this, I mean, you can, but this is taken directly from the contract.
So the step one, step two, because there's the contract and then
What
there's.
page are you?
She's stuck with the
This
previous
is
page.
6 and 7,
Page 6.
yeah, page 6 and the very, and there's.
Yeah, no, this is all directly from the contract. This is all directly from the contract.
So those 3 steps.
Yes. Everything in this red was in the red in this particular section on page 6 and 7 was lifted directly from the contract.
It says section 16.2 from the contract. I'd have to read it, but that's.
Okay, I mean, if it is exactly from, but the other part is there is some language that is based on our local process, so I do think it would be a good idea to bring it to Senate, like, for example, the second one of the interviews that came from the Senate discussion, so I just think it's also good for us to look at it and.
So that people are aware, absolutely, agree. And so then what we'll do, Tia, is wait to hear back from Mona, because now we gotta get alignment with when she takes this to the Senate, versus when the next, college council, is. Because depending on when it falls, it could be just a day between, right? So, there's no rush to approve this. And these are processes that are underway. And so, Mona, if you would send that sentence again or forward the email, apologize for the oversight.
Can I clarify that? While we're getting this approved, this is the process when you're using.
Yes,
Right, okay,
yes,
just making sure.
yes, yes. No, again, well, like any document, one, I actually wrote this myself because I'm probably the one person who interacts with all of the processes and I know where to go find this stuff because I regularly deal with it. And so what I try to do is just condense it into pretty much what Mona is saying, a combination of what is actually written into an existing AP or VP or contract and align it with what our local processes are. So in some cases, you do have local processes. In other cases, you have, no, this is the process, which is outlined in the contract. And so, yes, we would want your constituency groups to see this. And I really think that this is a document we all should review annually. And as we go through this, like anything else, we're learning like, oh, we should put this in there also. And that's really where some of this came from, the additions. So yes, Mona, if you would work with my office to let us know when it's ready to come. Now, of course, I would like to say, Mona, that when the last time we brought this to Senate, folks wanted to start changing words and terminology, like some of this can't be changed because it is actually lifted directly from an AP or a VP or the contract. The local process stuff certainly is open for discussion. And so we try to tell you when it is both or either. Other questions? So this is the first read. We will bring it back once we hear from Mona. And of course, Sean and Daniel And Andy, I would hope that you all would do the same thing with your respective groups. Site compliance officer update, Marciano?
Yes, so, in, so it's in your packet. In your packet, you should have, the site compliance, duties. So as you all know, Edwin, was our site compliance officer.
And let me make a point of clarification. The cover page that I was talking about is in the document. It's actually been very, very, very bad document. I didn't try it far enough. Sorry, Andrew. And what I don't see is the updated hiring for the position that Marciano was talking about. But Tia, you can send that.
Here,
My eyes are failing me.
site compliance
My
officer.
doctor
for
said my eyes
Denise.
were 85%. I guess he might have lied to you.
It's been a long day. Been a long
Where is it? Where is it at?
Right behind all the others.
My last one ends with the documents that I just said, but you're bringing.
So it's before the hiring screening committee process and then, at least it should be.
Go back to the beginning.
I don't see that.
Well, it's on the screen as well.
Yes.
I can bring you the copy that I have.
No worries. No, and just, you don't need to, just email it to everyone and Marciano can go with it.
If that's all.
So I'm just making sure. everyone- I don't.
Marciano may do it. Yeah. I don't-
But never fear, I made copies. And I'm afraid of that one now.
The golden channel says today.
Same today.
There you go.
All right, Marciano, let's start with you.
And you see-
He
See, I learned a couple things.
He went just long enough to see the savior, right?
You do have time for
This is
the,
how difficult it is. to
the site compliance stuff, so this is why we meet as a group in the morning, so.
But let's make sure we send this electronically also to you, please.
So as you all know, where I was going with this is that Edwin, was our current, site compliance officer. He retired, came back pro rata and was sitting as our site compliance officer. And then came and he met with Ricky and I, heading into the summer and said, I think I've written this out as long as I can write this out and I no longer want to continue in this role, but I'm happy to do some duties, which included, the things like the EEO presentations that happened. Well, as you all know, like, I always say, there's parts of my job that I love doing too, and then there's parts of my job that I wish I could give them to somebody else. And so, in our conversation, we decided that it would be best to just go ahead and really, to go out for a site compliance officer. One of the challenges that we have is that the way that we are funded for the site compliance officer, we get a 0.2 each semester, so a 0.4 total, for the semester, which isn't really a whole lot. And given the amount of work that it takes, and that was really what Edwin signaled to us, was that the amount of work that it takes, because remember that this person not only hears all of doesn't only just review the complaints that come in, they also do all the EEO training, and then they're also the person that has to certify all of our Q&Cs that are submitted for screening committees. And so we had an opportunity with the opening of the intercultural center coordinator position that we had. We had an opportunity to fold the site compliance officer position into that, because then it would make that position whole. And again, it gives us an opportunity to have some consistency in it. It takes some time to get someone up to speed in terms of the training and being comfortable presenting and those kinds of things. So all that said is that we added it to the intercultural center position. We've done interviews and we are in the final stages of doing reference checks. And we will hopefully have someone that we will be sending forward to HR to hire for the intercultural center coordinator that then also has this site compliance officer as part of their job. So their 80% is the 8% is the intercultural center, and then the 20% is the site compliance stuff that will happen through the district. Any questions about the site compliance part? So this is what their job is. Yes.
I do. I know we don't have a person in the position, but are you envisioning that, they will contact the campus and notifying us of their availability? I mean, because it was different working with Ed, right? I mean, we kind of learned that. So I'm kind of so excited that I'm trying to also keep calm too, because there's a lot of site components officer.
Yes. So, and this person will be new to our campus, so it's gonna take them a little bit to kind of learn the stuff that they, again, I have the commitment from Johanna Popowitz at the district office, who really oversees all the site compliance officers at all 4 campuses. And so she is going to be working to get this person trained on the EEO part, in terms of like what we look for on screening committees, how that process works. And then that person, the person will also then be working with Johanna and Adnan and I on like the processing of complaints, how do we review them? What happens when the site compliance reviews a complaint, doesn't think that they fall under harassment and discrimination? How do they pass that on then now to the dean or the chair for a follow-up if it needs to go that route? And if it does stay in the harassment and discrimination route, what does that process look like? So we'll be working with them. It's gonna take a little bit to get this person up and running, but we will be introducing them to campus and they'll be making the rounds. And then at some point, they'll be the person that will be putting on the site compliance, the monthly trainings that you all see that each of the campuses rotates through, getting folks certified to be EEO reps. So they'll be doing that training as well.
Well, they're welcome for instructional guidance.
Yes, we will definitely we'll be bringing them around to all the constituency groups so that folks know who they need to be sending things to and directing students to, right? So today, it's a good example. I met with a student who found Edwin's name on the website and then reached out and then found out that Edwin's not there. So it corrects me. I met with someone, walked him through what the process is, and so we're gonna get that up. We're gonna tighten that up as soon as we can.
But to Tilly's point, the likelihood is that this person would have office hours or hours that they designate to the entire campus if they're going to be doing this. You think about, and I'm gonna ask Marciano for you to drill down a little bit into what the intercultural center coordinator will be over, but before you do that, you know, there were opportunities even when Edwin was Edwin. There are a lot of people here with similar names. I apologize, Edwin. I'm talking about Edwin. But when Edwin was here, he was largely doing this like on Fridays. So there's an opportunity when there are not events going on in these centers that Marciano is going to talk about momentarily, that this person would have open hours to meet with people on the site compliance part. Can you drill down on what
Yeah.
the
So our new intercultural center coordinator is a triple SO position, the student services support officer position. So it's SPA, and they will be over our center over in the Al building, which is the Pride Center, Women's Center, and First Gen Center. They will also be working with our other center coordinators. So they'll be working with our AAPI center folks to you know, in terms of some joint programming. They'll be working with some of the undocumented resource center. So they'll have their hands in some different areas in terms of collaboration. And the plan really is that they will bring programming and kind of targeted celebrations and activities for things that are going to happen in that space. And then also then do the site compliance stuff kind of as part of their job. One of the things that we did, to Ricky's point, you know, one of the reasons we looked at having it as part of the intercultural center, because again, it puts it in one place where folks know where the person lies. And it is definitely much easier for someone who's not meeting with students you know, when Edwin was doing his counseling work, can't just not meet with the student to do this site compliance piece. This will allow this person who's not necessarily meeting with students on a day-to-day basis to be able to do the site compliance stuff when it comes up.
question? So I would imagine this person is going to be here November-ish, and
Yes.
we'll bring them to College Council so everyone can meet them. So Marciano, please work with Tia to do, so. John, campus safety update.
Yes, parking. Starting in November, parking lot 5, where student housing will be. Across from AH and the B building will be fenced off to begin construction for our student housing. So those parking spaces will come offline. In addition to parking spaces up by the P building, as we start to work on the softball, beach volleyball and soccer field, we will lose some of those spaces in addition to some spaces in parking lot 8, the LRC parking lot, Seville LRC parking lot. That will be staging for the Seville theater renovation. So for a couple of years, maybe a few years, we'll be losing some parking spaces, and I know that it is pretty. However, in meeting with the district, I've asked if we can explore partnering with some local businesses in ACE parking to establish an MOU of some sort where we can use bond funds to pay for parking temporarily during construction. No promises, we're just reaching out to explore those partnerships to supplement the loss of spaces. The number one priority, or one of the priorities for phase 2, is parking. That will include up at the P building, the tennis court and the racquetball. Tennis courts, tennis courts, and I thought it was racquetball as well. That will become new parking. It may include subterranean and 1 or 2 levels. Above that, we don't know until they start designing it at that time and conducting feasibility analysis and cost. As Ricky had mentioned yesterday, we had a couple of forms. It, on average, $25,000 per parking space. It can be as high as 30 or 35,000. So each 100 spaces will be 2.5 to $3 million. So those are factors that will go into determining how many spaces. But we will have that 5P building tennis courts with the tennis court on top of the parking structure. In addition to additional parking on the west side of parking lot 8 at the LRC, which may include subterranean parking, which may include 1 or 2 level additional parking. Again, once we get to that phase, we're working with the engineers, impact study, feasibility analysis, costs, things of that nature to determine what the design would look like for those. But those are the priorities for phase 2. Selena, excited?
Yeah. I was wondering if parking lot 5 is referring to the part that's right next to the freeway.
Yes.
Oh.
Correct. 16, 17, B and C at a time. This will result in a net increase of parking spaces. We don't know by how many, but we will definitely have, when said and done, after phase 2, these 2 parking structures are complete, we will have more. We have just under 1,000 or so. We only have just under 1,000. It might be 980 or so student parking spaces. Any questions regarding?
Just clarification on you talking about the LRC lot 8 structure. Where will that one go in phase 2? Oh, where it is now, where the lot is now.
Yeah, so right, this west, when I say the west side, this.
Oh, gotcha.
The west side of the lot itself, yes.
To the street.
Yes, parallel to the street, correct.
I have a question. So you mentioned, coming up in November, these are gonna be closed for a period of time. And you were looking at potentially some kind of an MOU with lease or something. I'm just really, I know there's advocacy for a lot of different things, but I feel like Aaron Getty is contacting me, for the waves and saying, don't forget if we're losing some spaces on P, I just want to make it clear that we've also are losing an Inspiration Point area or Students Park and stuff. So if there's anything we can look at for parking for students that go on that, for our sports and stuff that walk all the way over.
That will be included in,
Okay.
for consideration.
I just want to advocate for
Yeah,
that.
good point. Yes. No other items, should I segue to bond measure HH updates?
You didn't talk about safety.
Okay, sorry, I'm going by the bullet point here. And we had mentioned yesterday at the classified Senate forum that we are exploring Night's Watch Day Team, roving team. We're looking at the funding and actually using student employees, federal work study funds, if you will. There will be a lead, of course, but that is an option for us, so we're still in the discovery stage of that to bring that online as soon as possible. We did receive just last week an update from the city regarding the crosswalk at the Garfield lot. Number 3, just right at the science building, that the city has finally input a work order to restrike the crosswalk there and to add city signs. We have our own temporary Home Depot, please yield, state law signs, one of which was stolen and replaced it, but the city has input a work order for that. We also have escalated, I think this is the second time, the blue box, I'll just call them blue emergency boxes. Right out here, the LRC on the west side of the building, in addition to the east side, we're gonna add one there. The map currently shows that there is one, there may have been, there's now. So those two have been escalated. We're just waiting for a quote from the vendor. SDCCD Safe app will be coming online any day now. It is available, actually, going live any day now. We, City College, we're the only campus in the district that currently has or has had the LiveSafe app, which we're using now. Same functionality, same features, just a different layout. We'll be sending out marketing material, Caesar and I, once we get the word that it is live. One thing that we did learn is one extra function that it has, in addition to LiveSafe, is a blue light button on the phone. So similar to our blue lights, when you push that button, the dispatch stays live and it's recording in the event that someone is being assaulted or whatnot. They can listen and the person can't give description or details. The phone on the SDCCD Safe app will have the same feature. It's a button that says blue light. If you're being pursued or chased, or if someone's assaulting you, you can't give a description because you're being chased or assaulted. Dispatch is listening, recording, they're relaying that information to the responders and the location and the information. So that is one additional feature on the app. We'll keep our LiveSafe until March 3rd, I believe that contract terminates. So we'll be running parallel. So if you have both apps like I do, you will receive 2 alerts. SDCCD Safe and one on LiveSafe. Any question?
I know John said we will have it till March, but there will be a phase out prior to that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be confusing to people which one they should use. We are waiting for the district to notice us when they are rolling out the district app. And I would expect that in the beginning of the semester, the turn of the year, we will disband that other app because it'll get confusing to people which one they should use.
I have one question. And you're talking about, lot 3, the science building, Garfield High School, crosswalk. When they do that, is it something similar to what's in front of the Seville? Is it going to be something like that, or not like that at all?
It may be, they did not confirm,
Oh, okay.
just not quite sure.
Okay. I guess anything right now is better.
You mean the light where it says yield and it flashes? Yes,
It's just-
that is definitely our recommendation.
Okay.
And our initial ask really was to repave the crosswalk. And John, if we don't see this happen in the next, I would say by the next semester, we're going to figure out just go paint it ourselves. Because that has been a very concerning effort, particularly with the construction that's going on at San Diego High School. If you don't frequent that area, it's on a hill. And a lot of our folks, particularly in the A building and student services, and in the not MS building, the science building, park in that garage. And when you're picking up speed going down that hill, it can be, I've almost been hit crossing the street there. So I want to thank Roxanne, Jay, and the team for putting out some deterrents, but we need to paint that crosswalk. Unfortunately, it doesn't belong to us. It's the gift and the curse of being in a major city with 4 or 5 streets running through our campus. But we need to paint that so at least that it stands out.
Absolutely.
You know, I'd rather get in trouble by painting it than to have them say, oh, we're gonna get to it in 3 or 5.
And I just wanted to add, they could not add the speed bump due to the grade of the street. I guess they're
They want anybody going down, that'd be a skateboard.
Yeah,
Go down.
airborne, yeah, airborne all the way to C Street. So we did ask for that and they said, no. So,
You wanna talk about the lighting on the, Seville?
the lighting on the Seville, yes. So we do have a work order in west corner of the Seville, a little enclave there. There are some lights that dim in the evening and they illuminate a little brighter when they sense motion. We we have put in an SI so that it stays bright. We're actually gonna add a light to that area to illuminate it. Ones that are on those dimmers, those automatic dimmers, just keep those on bright. And then just adding more light. There have been encampments in the SI. We have mentioned the SI and SI. Any questions? That's it. Pardon?
Anything else about Measure H?
Yeah, real quick, thank you. We're in the, shouldn't say we, but the GC, the general contractor for the Harry West Gym, which is the LR group. They are designing the HVAC of where it should go for Harry West Gym, in addition to the visitor changing room. They are also in the planning phase, since it was just approved a couple of weeks ago by the board. For the soccer field. Now, this is a package deal. Softball, beach volleyball, or reorienting. Whichever one it is, the softball field, having access path at the softball field, restroom at the softball field, extending the soccer to regulation and adding irrigation and moving the storage and restrooms from the east side of the field to the south side. We'll call it the end zone portion of the field, and some bleachers. All of that is in the planning phase currently. We're planning and scheduling the kickoff meetings for the A building expansion, in addition to the Seville Theater. Dina, thank you, is scheduling those with end users and the stakeholders of those respective areas. So be on the lookout. They may be, and I just don't know off the top of my head if they have been scheduled already. Any questions regarding HH project?
I think the biggest thing, and then we can just say it over and over and over again, is as much as possible, and I hear that you had this conversation today in your being services. As much as they can give us a heads up when people are coming to the campus, let us know. I know it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, but it's just much awareness as possible for, people to know, somebody's here, talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tilly, and thank you for that. It's, we're still in the dating phase with the managers and the directors. We've had 2 planning meetings and they have come on campus unbeknownst to us a couple of times. So we've sent that out and they're getting better. I think we had another incident recently. Or if they're coming on campus, if it's just for an assessment, we want to know. If they're coming to visit, we would like to.
I think for me, the ask would be back out there to everybody is, if you see somebody, it's kind of like you do with everything else, just pick up the phone, call when your manager, something, just notify, so that we all know too, right? I mean, just don't let it go, so that we can help take care of it.
Yeah, this is the disadvantage or the challenge, not a disadvantage. This is a challenge of being in a multi-college district, that some of these contractors and folks are communicating with the district personnel and maybe not necessarily the college personnel. And speaking of communication, I've asked John to reach out to the team at Seas because we have a fence going in between the backside of the gymnasium all the way up to the tennis courts. And we may not have apprised the folks at Seas as to when the construction is taking place. And so I've asked Tilly and John to make sure that we're apprising people, and this will get better once Caesar gets the addition to his team on the payroll at the college to do better marketing of what is taking place on Measure HH. To include that we're scheduling a meeting with the soccer coaches who, frankly, I was successful at getting, because of their advocacy, the soccer field included in phase one. They are advocating though, thank you for, so that's the, this is the one you want. Yes. We were successful in getting the soccer field included in phase one, but the coaches would like turf. We did a cost analysis with the district on the turf. The turf is about a $6 to $7 million proposition that has to be redone every 7 to 10 years. And so while we have this $3.5 billion now, we're not going to have it indefinitely. And so I'm just not sure whether or not we can sustain the turf like we can grass. But we'll be meeting with the coaches and we hear them. I want to acknowledge we hear them. And if we could, in fact, do it, we would. Any questions on Measure HH? What Tia is passing out is something that frankly we went over on August 5th in College Council related to the college's policies, two specifically, and I'll add this to a future agenda again. But if I call your attention to the August 5th College Council meeting and a corresponding announcement that I sent to the campus around freedom of speech areas on campus and the public art process on campus. There are policies in place, and I would absolutely agree. In certain areas of the campus, it is probably more monitored than others. And when I went to the academic senate this week, was clear that we are not censoring. And I would challenge us to actually look up the word censor as to what the actual definition is. But we have no intentions of monitoring what goes on banners or things of that nature. But we did have two incidents that occurred. One was the very unfortunate facing vandalism of a banner that is connected to the art gallery and an event that's going on in the gallery. And what is so very interesting about this is that it happened in broad daylight, and many of us observed it but didn't necessarily know what was going on. The authorities are involved in that matter. We know who did it. I say posted it on Facebook. And so we are reaching out because we do not agree with our property being defaced. The second of which is an ongoing conversation that Andy Tilly will have regarding other banners, if I could call it that, on the AH building as it relates to policies that are in place that predate me. I didn't create these policies. And so I wanted to pass them out as we did in August 5th so that everybody had them in relation to freedom of speech areas on campus. This is the one document. The free speech area is a district policy. All of the colleges have it in terms of the steps and the processes. The public art committee predates me. I think goes back to some murals on campus. John Parker is working with that committee to update that process. And so those things are out there. This is, I think, our third or fourth time of handing these out. But I would ask that you would share with your constituency groups these policies and or processes that have been at this college long before I got. Yes. Well,
Couple of things. First of all, I keep hearing reference to free speech areas, but everywhere on campus is a free. I believe we've actually had that conversation now. The other thing is, this policy, I was told, so Terry, this conversation started because, Terry, the art department, worked with students in her class to create art that then we tried to display in the class, which is outward facing, right, facing the street. And so that was posted. We got complaints about the content specifically of the banners, and then she was just say encouraged to take it down because it was a posting violation, although it wasn't class. And then she went to, she tried to actually go through this process, and she's a part of this committee, and she was told that this policy is being changed. So she couldn't go through the proper process to put the artwork back up. And so I just have some concerns about using policy against policy and like creating new policies in the face of public pressure to censor, and I'm using that word. They're very much knowing what it means to censor certain language. I totally understand your position as a college administrator. This is a very difficult time, but I also think that it's difficult when our students see the policy being unequally, what they see as policy being unequally applied, the policy being created to potentially what it looks like is policy being created to censor. And so, and lastly, I just want to remind us that, like, I know nobody wants the posting police. We talked about this. And so I think that it's one way to go about this would be to work less on policing posting, and maybe work more towards understanding our student concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Mona. And certainly we can add this back to the agenda for future discussion, because I do believe it needs to be a discussion. And to your point, I've asked Andy and Tilly to meet with the students so that we could gain an understanding and also talk about the mechanics of this. Certainly the optics of when we're doing this is worth the discussion even in itself. Notwithstanding the banner, first let me just state for the record that what the banners say, we take no stand on that, and particularly believe that the people who wrote the message "River to the Sea" on the banner are free to do so accordingly. What people are not free to do is just post things anywhere. But I am in agreement with you that that is occurring at a level that I would say is at the highest that I've seen it since I've been here. So getting this under control, as I said in the Senate, is not just about this banner. Like, we're having people use the wrong tape. That is now we're starting to see buildings negatively impacted by this. I'm not going to carry it out here, but you and I have discussed that we can agree to disagree. The timing of the first banner in the summer, that also relates to your comment in terms of Terry, to her credit, trying to get this together so the summer, so the committee doesn't meet over the summer. So getting folks together over the summer was a challenge. I believe the first meeting of that committee just occurred.
Yes.
So there is some work to do. I'm always willing to meet with students and folks to gain a better understanding of the position that people have. And I'm absolutely aware of the optics that it seems like we're folding to public concern, when in fact, I think my track record of being a president and a vice president and a dean and a student will show that I've never caved to public opinion, or I wouldn't be here as the college president. But that's also up for debate. What we don't want to see as an organization is, one, folks feel or believe that they're being censored. Two, this notion of freedom of speech and posting has the potential to invite folks who don't align with our core mission to also post things. And that goes back to also the commentary about who is policing this. None of us, I think, want a mega banner on campus or things of that nature. And so this is something that we have to be aware of what could potentially happen. Particularly in light of what's going on at places like UCLA, where the OCR has gotten involved and levied huge fines on a college. I'm studying that very closely to better understand what is going on with that matter. But with that said, these policies predate me. They've been in place for some time. They do need to be updated because there are some gaps involved in them. As we do in any policy or procedure, they're going to go through shared governance, and there'll be ample time for faculty to share their voices and to be heard. And who knows, we may come to a point that we're not even updating what is currently in place. I don't know. Only time will tell. This is what this committee was formed to do long before I arrived on campus. Yes.
I just have 2 points. You mentioned there's this one, the Public Arts Committee, and is there another one for murals?
Yeah, and so the freedom of speech, because Mona is right again, and I honor when I'm wrong. Right? And it's not even for me not about being right or wrong. So in this case, the campus is free speech, as free speech area, but we're talking about posting things, right? And so people are not free to post things anywhere they want. And it's very clear here where you can post and how you should go about posting things. And so those are things that we just need to work through and that we need to be able to educate folks. Because this is not about, we're saying you can't put up this banner, we're saying you can't put it up where you're putting it up. Can we talk to you about where it can go up? And again, to Terry's point, she sought the proper process the first time around and say, well, where can we put it up? And that committee needed to be called together, but it was summertime. Other questions? Yes. Well, let's go to Mona.
Oh,
You
yeah,
just went- yes.
yeah, that's right.
I just want to remind the board, not to have it on campus before, like, that make them experience something similar. And coincidentally, both times the same phrase was in question, so it's difficult when students see this happening for them to sincerely believe that we're talking about policy and we're not talking about the phrase, which again elicited a response from the community, not just this, but the outside community. So I think we've seen a pattern, and that is the concern for senior pattern. And there are other things that are posted and not following our posting guidelines, but somehow those don't get any attention. So I think that there is definitely some attention being paid to specific messages on specific artwork or banners that are posted.
And duly noted, and that doesn't sit well with me either, particularly as someone who sees the facilities folks removing things daily. And given that they're understaffed, they can only get to what they can get to. But I absolutely acknowledge that concern is being heard and researched, which is why the committee is taking this on to see how is there a need to update some of these documents that have been around for some time. Marco.
I may be interpreting this, the public art one, but for instance, if like for here, we put up photos, like these photos, does that need to go to this group?
No, so this is where this gets, and we've had this discussion even long before the America matter. And that is, what is college initiated, department initiated versus, like let me defer this to an actual agenda item, because we're gonna go further into this than I intended to go. But you have this intersectionality between what someone has the freedom to post in their space in your office. Then you have what is instructional. Then you have what is not instructional. Then you have what is initiated by or on behalf of the college. Like you have all of these things happening. And the part of which that is clear is Caesar and his team puts up banners on campus, right? Like that piece is clear because we know when they go up and we know when they go down. out. What is clear is that we have a process for posting that virtually no one is following. Like, I just want to say that for the record, right? Because I don't want to be viewed as hypocritical, like virtually no one is following it. And I would say it's gotten worse recently. And so you have all of these things, but to answer your question, the posting of what would be these photos went through the process of the remodeling of this area. Right. Now, if I myself came in and put up a picture, well, that's probably not a good example because I'm the president, but even if we were to use that and I was acting independent, then that would be out of compliance with, like, I'd be subjected to having to go to a Don's office and get my little sticker on there that says I've been approved to put this up. But I would say the average person just is not even aware of it.
I just want to say one last thing, because I don't want to debate this here, because I know we need to talk about this further, but I do think it might be helpful to address the pain that the students are experiencing, that a lot of faculty are experiencing around the messages on the posters. You know, they're not benign, they're not neutral, they're around a real life genocide that's happening that our students are seriously concerned about. And we should be applauding. We should be telling them, thank you for doing this work. What can we do to support you? And I think that a little bit of support from administration would go a really long way to acknowledge this is a painful moment in history. And, you know, we need to talk about this. We need to support our students.
Agreed, Mona, again. And when I meet with students and I try to do that. I met with the student government, City Times just last week. And one of the things I said, Mona, is that I wish people would just ask me questions, because if they ask me questions of where I stood on something, I would answer it instead of just assuming. You know that you and I do have these conversations about where I stand on these things. And again, I completely agree that how could any of us with our core mission around social justice not be impacted and carry a heavy weight of what we see going on in the world and the number of genocides that we see going on in the world, and we're against all of it. And so I agree completely to your sentiments, which is why I've asked the dean and the vice president to meet with these students. And certainly I'm asking them because it would be harder for me to get to them. But those students who have come to see me, which they have in my open office hours and when I meet with students, I absolutely acknowledge those things when I have an opportunity to do so. And I hope that we all do so. It's the weight of the world is being carried by most of us, if not all of us. We can't unsee what we see. It's real. Other questions? Or comments? With that said, we have, speaking of student forum, I'm going to student forum on October 15th. So I'll be working with our student body president to host that event. We'll encourage all of you to come. Want to acknowledge the Classified Senate and their forum. Want to thank our Academic Senate president. In my 9 years, this was the first time an Academic Senate president joined us. It was great to have Mona there to hear from our classified professionals and their questions and or concerns. Had a chance to visit the Academic Senate yesterday and the chairs yesterday as we talk about FTEF and FTS and sections of being at 94% of our target, looking at the most recent enrollment data today. With that said, are there any other updates for the good of the order?
Just remind you have open office hours tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Yes, and the last one was standing room only. Yes. Any other updates? Hearing none, we will see you on the next college council meeting, which is on October 7th. I actually won't be there that day. One of the vice presidents will be standing on that day, but we will have. No, we will wait to hear from Mona whether or not we'll have the second reading of the higher document. Take care, everyone. be safe,